So this is video number 4 of our pelvic floor series. If you haven't yet completed videos 1, 2, or 3 of the pelvic floor basics, I highly recommend that you go back and go through those. And not just going through them, but make sure that you really understand where your pelvic floor is in your own body and how to engage it, how to release it, and how to isometrically hold the pelvic floor muscles, right? Those are very important things, 3 things. So engaging, finding where it's at in your body, how to release those muscles, relax them, and how to hold them. And maybe the hold is only 3 seconds. Maybe it's 5 seconds, or maybe you've already gotten to 10 seconds. That would be wonderful. But make sure you know how to do those 3 things. If you don't have that yet in your own body, you can't feel that yet, then go back to those exercises and continue them until you do. And it could take a while, so just give yourself time. It only takes a couple minutes per day. You don't have to do this for an hour. It's pelvic floor work. They're small muscles. So just a couple minutes a day until you work your way to truly knowing how to engage that pelvic floor when called upon at seconds notice, right? So today we're going to take it a little bit further with some standing work. It's still just a learning process, so we're not going to do a huge workout with it, but we will be standing up against gravity, working our bigger leg muscles and glute muscles, and just seeing if we can call upon our pelvic floor during those exercises. I'm going to have you starting, with some warm-ups that we've done in previous videos. So I have a couple of different props here. I'm going to use a small ball for myself. If you don't have a ball, you can use a rolled up towel, pillow, blanket, and something to sit on. If you're uncomfortable sitting down on the floor this low, if your legs are really gripping, tight hips or tight thighs, go ahead and sit on a chair. And you can also put a ball or a pillow on a chair, set it on the chair so that your legs don't have to be this tight, right? This bent. You can use a foam roller. Some of you guys have foam rollers at home. And if you do, and if you want to use it, basically you would sit on the roller so that your sit bones wrap around each side. And if you're rolling up a towel or a pillow, it would be similar to this roll, right? You'd roll it up so it's thick enough that it would mimic a foam roller and sit with just your legs out. I have a stability ball. A lot of people have stability balls at home, all different sizes. That's a great option. So you can just sit right on top of that as well. And if you have tight hips or tight thighs, this is a wonderful option, okay? Or just sit on a chair upright. Like I said, I'm going to use a small squishy ball, so I'm just going to roll this aside. Know that you have all of your options available to you. And so when you're sitting on your prop, just make sure that you can feel where your pubic bone, tailbone, and 2 sit bones are around that prop, around the ball. Okay, so let's start with our hands on our knees. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. And let's just find our posture, find our breath. And I'm going to close my eyes with you. And you're just going to feel that diamond that the 4 points of your pelvic floor, the 4 points of your base of your pelvis create, right? So your pubic bone, your tailbone, your right sit bone, and your left sit bone. That's our diamond. And so you've learned that in the previous videos. And so just bring your mind to that diamond and bring your mind to the pelvic floor muscles that are interlaced between those 4 bones, between that diamond shape. Take a deep breath in through the nose and bring your breath all the way down to the ball or the pillow or towel that you're sitting on. And then as you exhale, exhale through the mouth and feel as if you're going to get lighter up away from that ball. Not that you have to squeeze your glutes or squeeze your legs. I want you to relax your legs, relax your glutes. Just breathe here. We're just focusing on breath, just activating and finding our pelvic floor muscles. When you inhale through the nose, bring that breath all the way down to the ball and feel like you're going to fill that ball up with air. And then as you exhale through your mouth, feel like you're going to suck the air right out of that ball. So you're like a little syringe with your torso. The syringe is going to pull that air up out of the ball through the crown of the head. Let's do that a couple more times. Deep breath, inhale through the nose. Bring that breath down the back of your throat, filling up the lungs, filling up the belly, filling up your pelvic floor, transferring that breath to the ball. And now as you exhale, feel like you're going to take that air out of the ball. You're a big syringe and you're sucking that air out of the ball, up through your pelvis, up through the belly, up through the ribs, through the back of the throat, and out the mouth. 2 more times. Deep breath. Inhale, fill up like you're a big sponge. You're soaking up all that air and you're transferring that air to the ball. And now as you exhale, get nice and light. Try to suck the air out of that ball up through your pelvic bowl, through the deep low belly, through the lungs, through the throat, through the crown of the head, getting lighter. Good. Now go ahead and open your eyes and just give yourself a big shoulder roll. I gave you a couple of analogies in the previous videos. We'll go through them here too. I'll explain them again just quickly. But basically, if you need to take more time with just the breath and getting that pelvic floor fired up, do so now. Just press pause and come back to us when you're ready. But it's really important that you get the pelvic floor activated before moving on to bigger and more mobile things, right? Deeper exercises. So just take your time, do what you need to do. We are going to come on to our backs now when you're ready. So whatever prop that you're using, whether it's a ball or a blanket, pillow, you're going to take that ball or that prop and place it right between your inner thighs. Not really at the knees, but a little bit higher towards your pelvis, and go ahead and lie all the way down. Once you're down on the ground, I just want you to find your natural neutral spine. So remember that little mouse house underneath your low back. So find that space. Can you keep the space just like we did when we were sitting upright? We didn't round or collapse the spine. We didn't, lose our posture. So let's not lose our posture here, okay? So that ball is right between your inner thighs. You're gonna take your hands and just place them on your low belly, just still warming up. Give yourself a big shoulder roll up, back, and down. Nose is straight up to the sky. That helps find your posture because your low back mimics what your neck does. So we wanna make sure that we have a nice little arch underneath our neck, nice little arch underneath your low back. Your hands are right between your 2 hip bones, right above your pubic bone, your deep low belly muscles. We're going to be contracting those. Just stay here and take a deep breath. Inhale. Bring that breath through the nose, through the back of the throat, through the lungs, through the belly, to the hips, all the way to the ball. And now as you exhale, let's give a gentle squeeze of that ball and feel like you're going to suck that air right out of the ball, exactly like we did when we were sitting. Do that again. Inhale, releasing the ball. Bring that breath all the way down to the ball. We're releasing our pelvic floor here. We relax those muscles. And now as you exhale, you gently squeeze the ball. You engage your pelvic floor by floating it up. That's why we're trying to suck that air out of the ball. We're floating our pelvic floor up. We're floating our bladder up. Remember in that last video when I had you gently, like a feather, float your bladder up underneath the ribs and then release with an inhale. Let's do that 3 more times. Exhale, gently squeeze that ball. Pretend like your torso is a big syringe. You're going to suck the air right out of that ball. Feel how that engages your pelvic floor. It floats it up. Engages your deep low abdominal muscles. It pulls them in and up, hollows out the belly, and then release. Good. 2 more times. Gentle squeeze on that ball. Hollow the waistline. Float the pelvic floor up. You're sucking in and up like that ball is going to suck right to your pelvis. Think of your pubic bone pulling to your navel. Navel pulls to the spine and release. 1 more time. Gentle squeeze on that ball. Hollow out the belly. Float the pelvic floor up. And then inhale to release. We're going to take it 1 step further into our bridge. So gently squeeze the ball. Articulate. Your low belly hollows out. Your low back articulates to the floor as you roll up 1 vertebra at a time. Once you're at the top of your bridge, open the ball. Take an inhale. Now as you squeeze the ball, feel like you're going to suck the air right out of that ball. Float the bladder up underneath the ribs as you roll down. Hollow the low belly, scoop it in and up, all the way back down. Can you find neutral, right? Your low back is lifted, you have that small little space. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, hollow the low belly, feel the pelvic floor start to roll up. Your bladder is rolling up underneath your ribs. When you get to the top, open the inner thighs. Exhale, re-squeeze those inner thighs, suck everything up to the waist, and roll down, melt your chest down from your chin. Melt the ribs down, melt the low belly down, rolling it all the way back to neutral. 2 more times. Inhale, hold. Exhale, engage the ball first. Pelvic floor starts to lift up. Your bladder rolls up. It's light as a feather. It sucks and rolls right underneath your ribs as you articulate your spine up, vertebra by vertebra. Hold at the top, open the ball. Exhale, re-squeeze that ball. Suck that ball right up to your pelvis. Think of articulating down your tailbone. I should say your tailbone is going to roll to your pubic bone. pubic bone rolls to your belly button rolls to the spine, and you come all the way down. Good. Now from here, we're going to roll to our sides and come up to a standing position. And again, if you still don't have that pelvic floor engagement down yet, do a couple more of those exercises, whether it's just breathing or the bridge, and get it down before you come to standing. Because once we go into a bigger, deeper exercise movement, it's harder to engage that pelvic floor, right? So make sure you have it before you come up. So standing here, we're just going to be in a wide second position, okay, like a plie position. You're turned out in your legs. So let's get this alignment down first. Your knees should be in line with your second toes, right? A lot of times when we get into this position, people collapse their arches and their knees fall in. Really hard on your knee joints, really hard on your hip joints. So externally rotate your thigh bones. Float the arches up. And we're going to talk a little bit about the arch of your foot. It's very important. Every day, all day, while you're standing, okay? I want you to think of your arch as a dome, okay? You have a lot of domes in your body. Starting at the arch of your foot, that's dome number one, right? And then we kind of work our way up the body, and we have our pelvic floor, which is a dome, okay? Think pelvic floor is your second dome. Work your way up. You have the diaphragm underneath your rib cage, third dome. Keep going up, you have your armpits, fourth dome. Keep going up, you have the roof of your mouth, fifth dome. All the way at the top, crown of your head is your sixth dome. And I'm sure you have others, but that's ones we're going to concentrate on today. So if you think about floating your arches of your feet up first, that dome is going to speak to your pelvic floor dome, which speaks to the low belly, speaks to the diaphragm, speaks to the armpits all the way up, and we're going to float like we have a string attached to the crown of our head, right? So get nice and light. The second we collapse our arches, everything else collapses. So be light in the arches of your feet, okay? Let's put your hands on your low belly. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. You're just going to bend your knees and come down into a nice little plie squat. Now, as you're here, be sure that you didn't tuck, okay? Find your neutral, tailbone back behind you. And now from here, can you pull the low belly in and up from your hands without tucking? Can you press your thigh bones back so that your knees aren't rolling in? And when you press the thigh bones back, it might be a little bit easier to lift your arches, float those arches. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Now take another deep breath, inhale. Bring that breath all the way down to your pelvis. As you exhale, you're just going to straighten the legs up. Okay, we're going to do that a couple times, actually a lot of times. Inhale, and I'm just going to keep talking. You come down. Exhale, float all the way up. Think about the arches of your feet. Inhale, you come down. Now float the arches of your feet up and feel how that automatically engages that low belly pelvic floor area. It's kind of cool. Inhale to come down. Exhale, the arches start. Then feel right where your hands are at your low belly. It engages. Inhaling down. Exhale, scoop the belly. No tucking, stay neutral. Yep. And now think about your two sit bones, right? Remember when we were sitting on that ball? The two sit bones are wrapped around that ball. I want you to think about when you come up, your two sit bones get a little closer together. When you come down, they spread apart, right? The pelvic floor is in between. And when you pull up on that pelvic floor, your sit bones actually come a little closer together. It's tiny, but it does happen. Muscles move bones, right? Inhaling down. Now exhale, lift the arches. Think of your sit bones pulling close together, pelvic floor floating up. Now pretend like you have that ball right underneath you and you're going to sit on it, right? Now pretend as if you could float that ball up off the floor as you stand. Do that again. Inhale to come down. Exhale, that ball is right underneath you. As you stand, you're going to suck that ball right up away from the floor. Inhaling down. Exhale, pull the low belly in. Suck that imaginary ball right up to your pelvis. Inhale down. Can you feel your pelvic floor? Let's do 3 more. Float the arches up all the way up through the crown of the head. Inhaling down. So we have arches float, pelvic floor floats, diaphragm floats, armpits, roof of the mouth, crown of the head. 2 more. Inhaling down. Exhale. Keep that ball floating up, 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 staying nice and tall and neutral. Inhaling down. 1 more time. Exhale. Scoop the belly. Float, float, float all the way up. And rest. Give yourself a big shoulder roll. We're going to walk your feet in a little bit closer. Sit bone distance apart. And I'm going to grab my small ball again. You can grab a rolled up towel, whatever you have, pillow. You're going to place that ball right between your inner thighs like we did in the beginning, right? Walk your feet in a little bit closer so you're sit bone distance apart. Hands come at your hips. This is a little bit harder of a position to feel the pelvic floor than when you are wide, right? So we're just going to take it a notch up each time. If you need to stay with one position to get it in your body, press pause, keep practicing, and then catch up with us when you can. So hands at your hips, roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Now from here, we're not going to lift up or down yet. You're just going to squeeze that ball and then release it. Do it again. Squeeze the ball and release. And if you're not feeling inner thigh, you might need to move it up a little bit higher, and I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to move it up so it's actually touching my pelvis, pubic bone and tailbone, right? And if we get that feedback, that might actually help us with our pelvic floor, because that's where your pelvic floor is. Hands come at your hips. Now just engage the ball and then release. So when you engage, it's inner thighs. Your glutes might be working a little bit, but don't over squeeze your butt. Think of squeezing gently the inner thighs, and then as you do that, the pelvic floor floats up, right? We did this lying down. We could do it standing. And now can you float your arches as you squeeze and then release? Put your hands at your low belly. Feel the low belly pull in as you squeeze. And it's just a light squeeze. If we over squeeze, we're not going to feel the pelvic floor, right? Now roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Let's do that 3 more times. Just a gentle squeeze, pull the low belly in, float the pelvic floor up from that ball. Check in with your toes, wiggle them around so you're not gripping, and release. 1 more time, gentle squeeze, float that ball up, float the pelvic floor up, get light, and release. Good. Hands come to your hips. Now from here, you're going to bend your knees and hinge forward any amount. It's not a huge hinge. We're not completely folded, right? It's just a small little hinge forward. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Now from here, that ball is still there. We're just going to squeeze in a little bit and release. Now that we're in a hinge position, it might be a little bit more of a challenge to call on that pelvic floor, but can we use our breath, right? Use the breath. Little squeeze, pull everything up without changing the position of the spine. You have 5. And now when you squeeze that ball, be careful that the arches don't collapse. Can you think about that too? There's lots to think about. Squeeze 3 and release. Squeeze 2, scoop that low belly in and up and release. Can you still call on that pelvic floor? Squeeze and release. Good. Now we're going to do a small little pulse here. You're going to bend down, come down 1 inch and then up 1 inch. Do that again. Come down 1 inch and up 1 inch. Now that small inch that we're coming up, can you think of floating the arches, floating the pelvic floor, pulling the low belly in, staying in that nice straight spine, lifting for 5. Exhale from the deep belly muscles, 4. From the pelvic floor, 3. Exhale up for 2. Last one, float it up and come all the way up and rest. Shake it out, take that ball, get rid of it. We're going to do 1 more before we end this video. We're going to go into a lunge, because a lot of times when we get into classes, we are in a lunge position, right? And now the challenge is, can we call on our pelvic floor to stabilize us, to balance us in our lunge? So left foot steps forward, right foot is back. And you are in a, sorry, I gotta adjust my mic here before I fall over. You are in a parallel position so that your legs are like railroad tracks. You're not standing, you know, 1 foot behind the other. You're sit bone distance apart. Hands at your sides. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. The back heel is lifted. Weight is in the front heel. Wiggle your toes so that you're not gripping. If you grip your toes, you're probably not engaging your core. That's my little tidbit here. Roll those shoulders up, back, and down. You're going to bend that back knee, come straight down. We are not hinging forward. We're going straight up and down like an elevator. Now, like an elevator, lift the pelvic floor up to come back up. Do that again. Inhale to come down. Pelvic floor floats you back up. Inhaling down. You're going to feel that glute, hopefully. Pelvic floor, low belly, then you lift. Inhale. Now think of the front left arch. Float that up. Float the pelvic floor up, low belly. Inhaling down. Just 5 more. Exhale. Pelvic floor floats you up. And I want you to feel as if somebody's going to put their hands right around your waistline and lift you up nice and light, and your legs just dangle underneath you. Exhale. Scoop the low belly. Float up. Get taller, longer, leaner. Inhale. 2 more times. Float the arches, the domes of your body. Inhaling down. 1 more. Exhale, low belly pulls in to lift and come back to center, and we will switch sides. So just right foot forward, left foot back. You're parallel with your legs, both knees facing straight ahead. Let's go forward again. You inhale to go straight down like an elevator. Remember, we're not hinging, we're not rounding or tucking. Nice and neutral. Exhale to lift up. Do it again. Inhale. Now can you get the pelvic floor to lift and float you up nice and light? Inhaling down. Exhale through the crown of the head. You lift up tall. Inhale. Shoulders are relaxed. Exhale. Low belly pulls in and up. 3 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Pelvic floor. Think of all those domes of the body just lifting up nice and light. Exhale. Scoop and lift. Inhaling down. Exhale, low belly pulls in and up. We're going to do 2 more. I know I said 3 more, but we're doing 2 more. Exhale all the way up. 1 more time from the deep guts, the deep belly. Pull in and up and rest. Come back to center. Heel toe your feet back together. Nice job. Kick it out. It's so important to know how to call and rely on your pelvic floor when you're in any of those classes, especially when the music is pumping. It's quicker, it's longer as far as you're probably already fatigued in the rest of your larger muscles, and so that pelvic floor group of muscles is really going to help carry you through class. And not only just through classes, through exercises, right? It should carry you throughout your life, throughout your day. It should keep your posture, it should keep you balanced. And when I say it carries you, it truly carries you. So when you're walking, you should feel like you're nice and light up away from the ground. You're lifting the arches, lifting the domes of your body. So we're not pounding the pavement, right? Pounding the pavement with gravity is only going to decompress our spine. It's only going to decompress all of our joints, hip joints, knee joints, ankle joints. So we want to use and rely on our pelvic floor to keep us light, to keep us floating as we walk through space, right? To keep us up against gravity. So thank you so much for this 4th video, sticking with me. If you have any questions, please let me know. Any suggestions on future videos, please let me know. I love to hear your feedback. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.